of all, can you introduce yourself?
So my name is Tree, and I am the HR manager here at Aspace.
And I'm the communications manager.
Well, Aspace is a non-profit organization that was founded originally by Don Mami. He's a visual artist that does a lot of things, including installations, visual arts, and a lot of other stuff as well. He originally founded it with two other co-founders.
Because I'm not an international student, but I study abroad, and I came back here during the COVID season in March.
Yeah.
So coming back here was like revisiting like our roots, our culture. It's great to meet and talk to people that knows and understands like the culture. You don't feel so disconnected.
Yeah, because
from being like in another country.
Yeah, I also studied abroad for around a couple of years before I came back here, and it's just before that time, before going off to another country, I never felt like I truly connected to this place, and I didn't really understand much about indigenous culture here. And after coming back here and after joining Aspace, I finally felt like, oh, okay, now I'm starting to get a sense of what is going on in my own country, and it's actually really great to see how the young artists in this scene is working, and also the older people with much more experience are guiding the future generation into a path that actually is really meaningful to our own culture.
It's like first time working in an organization.
Yeah, working in an organization.
Yeah.
It's the biggest program that we run is the Solo Marathon. It's a residency program, so it's for artists from all over the place.
All over Vietnam.
All of Vietnam. Sorry.
Emerging Vietnamese artists.
We're completely non-profit. We don't use any of the artworks from.
We don't sell.
Yeah, we don't sell artworks. We also don't, take money from the artist or something like that. Like we don't work like an agency, and we don't commercialize
we only do
anything.
What's best for the artist.
Exactly. We're just here purely to support the artist and to do in the progress of doing their arts. Personally, for me, it opens a lot of doors because, like I said before, ever since I came to this place, I started knowing a lot more about the art scene in Hanoi and in Vietnam in general, with much more depth. It also helped me find sort of my own place as an artist, because before I knew that I wanted to work with music, but I didn't actually know
the people.
The people or the instrument that I'm gonna use. And later on, after this entire progress, at this point, I can say that, anything can be used as an instrument.
Currently, I don't have any intentions to be an artist, but I don't cross that out either. Like, maybe like in like the next 10 years or 20 years.
Yeah, who knows what will happen. When you feel like you want to create something, you just create.
Art right now is very conceptual.
Yeah,
anything
it is.
Can be art.
Yeah, anything can be art.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of it, because it's unlimited. It's an unlimited universe that you can just take out. Yeah, it's really vast. Anything can be a source for you to create something. Really, for me, is knowing what makes you truly happy, like what brings you joy, what inspires you is the most important thing out of all. Because if that material stuff, if money and something stable, stability is something that you are looking for, then just go for it, and there's no shame in that either. And anything is equal. Basically, it's equally beautiful. So what I'm trying to say, I guess, is just whenever you feel like you want to do something, just do it. And I know that there's a lot of fear in that. I personally know that so well. But I feel like this place, the entire experience of working at Aspace has been a healing process for me, and I've been seeing that from the very beginning. Ever since I stepped foot in this place, I knew right away that I'm gonna spend time here. I'm gonna spend all the time that I need here to heal and to be able to step out of my own self, my old self, and become something that I want to become. And actually, yeah, this is sort of like the very last few days of my journey here in this place, and I can actually say that okay, it is time. Like, I'm ready, and that's why I decided to leave the position. And yeah,
I think it's for me as well. Talk to people. Talk and
don't be afraid to.
Don't feel like you're less than who you are, because that's not what other people see.
Yeah.
All they see is potentials, and they won't see that until unless you talk to them. You talk to your peers. You talk to your seniors. You talk to people on the streets. Like,
yeah,
you'll be surprised at how other people see art.
You'll learn at least a thing or two. Like, honestly, it's
like, I think especially like talk to. I think just last week someone said this. I'm not gonna say who it is. Talk to like your older artists, the artists that are very experienced in the field. Don't hesitate to
Talk to older artists.
Because
the one who
they know a lot.
experience,
and even if you guys disagree on like
even that
point, like
exactly.
it doesn't matter. Like, it's about exchanging ideas,
exchanging information.
It's not the same perspective. Something.
Exactly.
And they can give you like a ton of advice.
At least
on how to start, on how to navigate live, and how to everything. It's hard to pinpoint like one thing because they know so much.
And honestly, it's just anything. Don't be scared there's no rush in anything. Just take your time, because each person has their own pace of learning and maturing and all of that, and becoming whoever they want to be. So take your time. Like, there's no rush, and don't feel like you have to be faster because everyone else is moving fast, like, just like, be patient with yourself. Like, that's the most important thing out of all, because sometimes we just put too much pressure on ourselves. Not other people, but like us ourselves put on ourselves. It's just, I know, it's crazy, and it's the biggest factor in stopping you from actually being who you are.
And on a realistic note, if like an artist, like if you're like a young artist who are struggling, like, get a job, like get any job, just a job that is paying you enough to make ends meet.
Exactly. So that you can get that out of your system at least. You can at least get that out of your head, so you don't have to worry about, what am I gonna eat tomorrow. You can just focus on your art and just focus on what you want to create.
Nhưng mà là một con người nói chung và khai thác về cái tâm lý của con người đó, chứ không phải là có gắn kết với tất cả những cái gì mà ở phía bên ngoài vào, dự án là các cái event rồi là xã hội này, rồi là yêu đương này, rồi là kiểu đấy, tất cả mọi thứ nó chỉ là những cái rất cái nó đúng là rất đằng sau và một phần nào đấy nó như kiểu là có ingredient để mà làm ra những cái con người chúng này thời điểm kia và thời điểm này đó. Chỉ muốn câu chuyện của Daoni là ai thì các bạn cho câu chuyện của người ta, không phải là chỉ riêng là, tức là chị muốn, tức là ở đây chị nhặt rất là nhiều material, chị nhặt rất là nhiều những cái chất liệu ấy. Inspiring.
For this artwork. To do this.
Say live. is the thing I got inspired like the most. But it's just one thing that I first started this project is because I have like too much here, like in this chest that I cannot like let it go or let it out. So basically, I need something to channel it and.
Yeah. How do you relate to an adult, like the main character of your artwork?
Because she's a woman and she's like a very like basic woman, not basic but it's like simple woman, like very pure woman that like anyone out there can relate to her. Like every single event of her life here, like everyone, like every single woman out there been there, done that, and even like to men. I mean like to human. Everybody just like been there. But it's just one thing why I chose like the characters, the female one. It's just because like it's easier to channel like the feelings, easier to channel like the suffering, like or the happiness, you know, because like a woman like shows more than men, so that's why. And also there's just one thing is like if you notice a lot of like Vietnamese traditional music is all, no, not all, but a lot of them are like female singers. Yeah, so basically I'm a Hanoian, so I want to have like something that very Hanoian, and Gatu is from the north, and here we are.
Cool. Ai trong cuộc sống này cũng đã đều trải qua 7 cung bậc cảm xúc này, hoặc là mong muốn có được một cái cung bậc cảm xúc nào đó ở trong này, và ai cũng có thể tìm thấy bản thân mình ở trong đó. Thì cái đấy là cái mà bọn chị muốn truyền tải, muốn đến gần với mọi người hơn, kết nối với mọi người bởi cảm xúc, và cũng như là một phần là muốn bằng một cách nào đấy muốn mọi người có thể có hoặc không, nhưng để mọi người có thể nhìn lại bản thân mình, hiểu rõ về bản thân mình nhiều hơn và yêu thương bản thân mình nhiều hơn. Thì cái đấy là cái mà bọn chị muốn truyền đạt.
My name is AP Nguyen, short for Anh Phương Nguyen, and I was born in Hanoi. This year I'm turning 22, and I'm currently studying fine art in London at Chelsea College of Arts. But because of COVID, I came back to Vietnam in March and kind of took a break from school and then started my own thing. So I kind of juggle a few different projects at the same time. I'm really interested in curating and making work, conceptual art. But I found that to be quite difficult during the lockdown because there wasn't really context for it. It didn't really, I guess, seem relevant to be making art about certain concepts when it was so difficult just to get through a day. So then I turned to clay and kind of experimenting with ceramic. So now I run kind of like an independent ceramic production, I guess, line called Clay Projects. And with Clay Projects, I've just kind of decided to let go of a lot of like art theory and just started making for the fun of making. So yeah, exactly. So I have one side of me which is a little bit more art, more conceptual and really interested in theory, and then a more practical side is that I work on clay and make ceramics just for commerce and just for fun. So yeah, I decided like there's this idea still. I know artists with amazing work, and I know that it's possible to do, especially with the support of my co-curator, Will Demers. So we kind of sat and we talked about what we could do, and then I realized that the best place to put a show on would be a kind of apartment, because it really defies a lot of institutional structures in that way. It gives us like full control. over timing, over what's to be shown. There's no venue constraints, so we decided to make it a site-specific show inside an apartment, and there we began to think about how this apartment was relevant in the day and age of COVID. Because obviously people are spending loads of time inside their homes during lockdown. And I think it was an experience that really stuck with me. And then we began to question, you know, like, how do we feel in this domestic space? How does the domestic space transform? How do objects transform into feelings, into emotions? How do they bring us comfort? How do they make us feel, I guess, fearful of something? So I guess it was really born from the context of COVID and being at home, but being at home is also something that feels comforting, I guess, to a lot of people, so why not? Yeah, so we just decided to go and do it. I had no idea or no kind of information on the art scene before I came back, but when I came back, I felt like everybody was at like kind of ground zero. All of a sudden, everyone was in the same place, and I met this guy once at one of my open studios, and he says that the Vietnamese art scene is kind of going through a renaissance period because everybody is coming back home. You know, all of the creatives, all of the talents that have gone off to uni, they've decided to come back. So now I feel like there's a lot happening, and I feel like in Hanoi there's a lot of like exciting underground things which are becoming a little bit more clear to the public and clear to me. People are really, I guess, focused on history, but they are also really interested to look forward into the future, which I think will be a really exciting thing for the art scene. I feel like a lot of the times there's a lot of referencing to like contextual things about culture and tradition, which I think sometimes might be like not approachable for the common viewer. But now I see a lot of young artists expressing in a more visual way and less theoretical way. And I think that percentage shift, you know, like how much is your work visual, how much is your work theoretical, it's becoming to balance, it's coming to a more balanced state, whereas maybe sometimes when you see old contemporary Vietnamese art, there's a lot of theory involved and not so much like of a visual aspect. But now I think people are really open to being wowed or being, I guess, shown something new and exciting visually. So, but I think a lot of my work is functional. So things like candle holders are really like relevant to me, or things like tissue boxes, and it's just like the things that I might use on a daily basis, or things that I might look in my home and be like, I can make that a little cuter, or I can make that a little bit more visually interesting. So that's what drives my clay. But it's also this kind of fun idea that you could make something and then other people could also own it and enjoy it, which is something I don't think I have with art. I think when I'm in my art mindset, I'm thinking, you know, like how best to make this work exist for itself. And I'm never thinking about how people are gonna buy my art and hang my art, because I don't think I'm that kind of artist who wants to sell art. I'd rather sell design and decor, and I think that, so Clay Project is kind of my outlet for that. Yeah, I would say it's like a good balance between the two, and I feel like a lot of people seem to get confused about what I am, but it's like, it's also like an artist doesn't have to be one thing. An artist doesn't have to be like that, you know, expressive, painterly, like, you know, hermit in the cave with just like this art and nothing else. You know, it's like an artist can also be interested in design, interested in theater. I think that it's hard to find a job that will support you financially to give you enough.
Especially at the beginning.
Yeah, especially at the beginning, to find, I guess, like a budget or to be financed by something. I also think that it's difficult because there's not a lot to see. I think in London, where I studied, there's a lot of shows every week, every day. You're always at an opening, you're always looking at art, you're always being inspired by some part of life. But here, I think seeing art, and it's just like the same flavor of art quite often, and that makes it quite difficult to be inspired as well. But then again, I think that hardship also kind of like creates a lot of depth in one's work. you know, the fact that it didn't come easy, I think is enough of a reward, you know, to the artist. And I think the one good thing about, actually there are many good things, but one of the nicest things about Hanoi is how supportive the art community is, because when I first came back, I did a studio takeover at Babo, and that's run by Chị Thảo Linh, who I met very casually, and she just immediately offered her spare room in this building for me to do whatever I wanted with for a month or so, and that's how Clay Projects began. But like, you know, no questions asked. It was very open. And then afterwards, I got a residency at Manzi. So I mean, support and funding do come, I think, to some people, and I think not enough, obviously, but you know, there's something there. It's not like it's completely obscure, or it's not like it's completely decrepit. But yeah, my Manzi residency happened right after my Babo residency, and I thought the two were gonna coincide, but it didn't. And I spent I spent 2 months there working more on clay. I think my dream would be to continue to like feel challenged and to have the means to make art and to live healthily and peacefully with my art. I think I don't ever want to make a piece of work and feel like, okay, that's the best, you know, that's the piece, or that's where it ends. I always want to feel like this piece should lead to some other piece, and I think the last thing I'd want is to feel like I was so happy with my art. I think struggling with your work is part of the process, and struggling with how best to progress it. I was really, really happy to do 30 Is Yet the End with Hands Collective and a bunch of other cool people. We Do Good was part of that, and Hands, Homework Studio, like those guys are really, really organized and like can manage things and have big plans. And I think meeting them, along with meeting the people at Manzi and meeting the people at Babo, and I think knowing all these people makes me feel like really good. Just that, you know, we are in each other's consciousness is such a nice thing to have, and to know that you're part of a bigger community. I definitely didn't feel that in London, because I felt like as a student, you know, I was still just working and experimenting in my studio. There was never really an opportunity to showcase, because obviously the scene was so developed. And so there are so many people who stand in hierarchies and positions above you, but it doesn't feel like that in Hanoi at all. So yeah, I'm really happy to be where I am. I would want to say just stay healthy, and just like, I think a lot of artists tend to overwork themselves. I think a lot of people have just so much passion, and then they end up like really just like overworking and overwhelmed. Yeah, because I think being an artist is difficult, because you're not just doing that one thing all day, you know. You have your daytime job, or you have your nighttime job, and then you have your craft, and then you have your family, and then you have the society, and then you have the network, and it's just like really intense to be an artist in Hanoi, especially with all the Asian kind of expectations as well. At least for me, that's what I felt. So I would just say stay healthy, be careful, don't overwork, and just keep doing it, I guess. Like, just keep making. Yeah, that's all. Cool, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.